Good morning, good morning, good morning. Realtor Avery, thanks for joining me again.
Good
Wednesday
morning,
morning.
Around Chuck. Happy New
Yes.
Year.
Happy New Year. Yeah, that's exciting.
Yes.
Awesome. 2025.
I kind of
So,
like that number. I like odd numbers.
yeah. Yeah.
Does that mean I'm
2020.
odd?
20. No, it's like, okay, so 2025 has kind of been on my radar for a long time, like maybe my whole life. Just because it's for me, it's one of those milestone years, like like I was born in 75.
Oh,
So then so like 2000, you kind of think of your life in quarters, like so this is one of those years for me. This is a milestone year.
are you saying you're turning 50 this year, Chuck? Is that
I
what's happening?
That's what I mean, I hope. It's better than the alternative. So I'll let everybody know March 20th, that's my birthday.
All right.
Anybody
So instead of being like my birthday month, you should have started celebrating last year on the 21st to be like a countdown clock.
I listen, I like where you're going with this. But that's a little too much. Yeah, no, I'm good. I think if I get 3 months of celebration, between now and March 20th. So basically the rest of the winter, right? Because on my birthday is when we turn into spring.
That's awesome.
It makes me special.
Very exciting.
So yeah. So 2025. Everybody it's very exciting for me personally.
Yes. All right. Wow. See, we talk a lot before the show, but this was something you did not remind me of. So this is very exciting.
Very, very much, very good. Very, very
Very
good.
nice.
So thinking about getting ready like we do each week to, broadcast our audience, right? We need to know kind of what we're talking about. And we usually get off on a tangent. That's life. That's fine. But looking back at 2024, that's kind of what's fun on January 1st, right? I mean, we're definitely, I think, in anticipation of the year ahead, but it's also fun to just look back at where you were, what did you accomplish? What do you remember most? How are you going to remember 2024? Tell me about it.
Well, I think that, and I agree with you, like it's hard to look forward without looking back, right? Like, okay, what did I do well? Like what did I enjoy about the year? And so, looking and you know how I did it this year, Chuck, because I actually got my calendar out, meaning electronically on my computer. And I went back, I use a Google calendar, right? So I put my Google calendar, January, February, March, and I'm kind of flipping through the months and looking at what was happening, last year at that time. And it was pretty exciting. And one of the things that really stood out to me is back in April, we had a really fun HannahCon in Orlando. And HannahCon was awesome. And then I added a few days and went to Disney World and Universal with one of my adult children. And as fun as it is to go to a theme park with kids, to go with an adult child is a whole different experience. And it is a lot of fun and exciting. But professionally, the HannahCon we're a big company, right? We have over 10,000 realtors as part of Howard Hanna. And, how many are in Buffalo and Rochester and New York State. And so to be in a room surrounded with that many people who are geared to success, learning, helping clients, like it was just such an amazing environment. I thought. And the resort was gorgeous.
No, absolutely. And you know what? I'll throw a little shout out to it'd be awesome if we had someone from this group on our, as part of our audience, but I got to throw a little shout out to the FC Tucker group. Those guys are fun. Way to go. HannahCon, bringing them into the fold. I want to party with you guys at FC Tucker. You guys rock. So well done.
Well, and that's the thing, like you're talking to people, we've had Angie Nishnik on from Virginia Beach area. Oh, yeah. And it's like, we as leadership with the company, like we network with leaders from all over our company, the country, whether it's, Carolinas, Indiana, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Ohio, like we're all over. There's a great leader in New Jersey who I've been following and learning a little bit more from lately. And he does an amazing job. And so we all grow we get that layer of growth and learning. And then our realtors who are top agents, like you could be at the top of your game here in Buffalo, in Rochester, and you're learning from people at the top of their game in other cities and sharing ideas and networking. And you're not competing with someone in Cleveland, so it's a little bit easier to be free with your ideas, um, in that way.
Yes, and you're making referral partnerships, right? I mean,
Oh yeah.
I got a call. This was back. I mean, before my career in leadership with our region, um, but I connected with an agent at HanaCon, and it was in Pittsburgh. And so, she had reached out to me a few years ago. She had a local family member, and needed to sell their house. So,
Yeah.
absolutely, awesome.
No, I think, and they, it's constantly said, you should be picking up referrals at HanaCon. And I can remember I was walking through one of the long hallways between the rooms where that person was doing that painting. Remember that Howard had
Oh
a
yeah,
painting, and then
yeah, yeah.
everybody signed it. Like, that was pretty cool. So
That
I'm
was
walking through that area, and it was actually a First P mortgage consultant in Rochester. Somebody that I know well in Rochester, like this mortgage consultant said, "Hey, I need to send a referral to Buffalo." And the manager in Rochester was like, "Hey, talk to Lisa Avery," and I happened to be walking nearby. Maybe that's why they suggested me. But anyway, it was like, "Hey, I need to place a referral." I'm like, "Okay, hang on a second." We placed a referral here in Hamburg, and they're like, "Okay, there's our referral." I'm like, that was awesome.
wow,
And
awesome.
that deal closed.
Serendipity, everybody. That's how a lot of real estate happens, right? Right place, right
Yeah.
time.
Yes.
But
Well,
it's not a
and it's, serendipity, and hey, I know you, and you're going to tell me about your client. I know the agents in my office. Tell me about it. What are they
Mhm.
looking for? What are they like? Let's make a good match, right? And so we make
Yes,
a good match, everyone's happy,
yes, yes.
which is
Okay.
why referrals do better than just, opening the phone book
Yeah,
doesn't happen anymore, but just like,
yeah.
pulling a name. It's like, "Hey, tell me about your realtor. What are they like? Are they going to be patient? Are they going to be aggressive? Like, what are you as a client looking for? And let's make a good match."
I like the process where I mean, so I started off a little bit wrong. I like that process when we get a referral. It's a requirement that you connect with the agent before that agent talks to the customer. Like, it's a legit
Mhm.
requirement. Don't just take the referral and then go call the person. Hey, let's go do blah blah blah. No, you need to talk to this person.
Yes.
Um, so we need to transfer as much of that relationship as possible.
Agreed.
So yeah,
Agreed. All right. So
absolutely.
what about your year, Chuck? 2024.
Yeah, yeah.
How give me one word?
Oh, I think for me, one word. Gee, one word. Travel. I did some traveling this year. I haven't really traveled in a while, and I took my son on a trip. He and I went to Washington, and then I took him with me. I was also at HanaCon, yay! And I
Yeah.
went to and it was great that it was in Orlando because I was able to visit my family in Jacksonville beforehand, and I took my son with me, and so kind of a theme of our year was, and I mean, travel is a theme, but we stayed on planet Earth, but we felt like we left planet Earth because we went in Washington, we went to the Air and Space Museum, and then while we went in Jacksonville, we went down to near Orlando, and went over to the Kennedy Space Center. So we did a lot of space, theme, feeling like we were out of this world. And then of course we had the event for some, the non-event for others. I mean, but I think maybe one of your favorite events of the year was, of course, the eclipse. Like,
Well, and I agree. Like, we were in the path of totality, right?
right.
Like, that was such a big
Yes.
thing. There were shirts, people, I mean, Airbnbs were booked solid. And so yes, here in especially where I live in Hamburg, we were in the path of totality, which was also the path of clouds.
So, so were we. Owen and I, we went out in our driveway, put a couple chairs out. We sat there, and it got really dark. Um, but it wasn't like it went from bright sunny to bright dark, or to dark, right? It went from overcast to just dark for about 3 minutes, and then it went back to overcast.
Yeah. It was
Um,
still super cool. And it
it was
was,
super
you
cool.
know,
It was.
uh, it was really neat. And it was neat just to
Yeah.
watch the world get strange. Eh,
Yeah.
I mean, we definitely, and I don't know if you saw it, like animals acting differently. The birds were a little concerned.
Yeah,
It was strange.
it was strange. I went through, so one of the fun things now, especially with the internet, it's just so easy to look up, data and information like this. But back in the spring of 1994, spring of 1994, um, yeah, spring of 1994. I was in college, out of state, and I remember being out on the lawn, out in the yard behind our dorm. We were doing frisbee, or I don't know what the heck we were doing, but there was an eclipse, and and it was the same kind of eclipse. And and it made me, going through it this time reminded me of being at it that time. And it was super sweet. That one was like it was an overcast, like it was overcast, but not so thick cloudy. So actually, it was super sweet because I don't know, if there's enough moisture in the air, it'll refract the light enough times that you actually didn't even need to wear glasses. You could just
Oh,
look
wow.
at it and you could see like how sometimes you can look like, especially when the sun's going down, and you can just look at the sun, right? As the sun's going down, because it's the angle and all that. Well, the same thing happened during this eclipse, and it was super cool to watch this black ball move in front of the sun. Um, so anyway,
Yeah.
it'll happen again. When is it gonna happen? When's it? We don't know. We didn't look it
I
up. I thought,
don't know.
yeah. So anyways, well, it'll happen again.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Um, yeah. I think the other thing that really, I mean, obviously we can't be in real estate and reflect on 2024 and not be like, "Hey, some things changed."
What? What do you mean? Tell me more. I'm just kidding.
Right?
Yeah, a little bit
I
of change. A little bit of
I
change. The
love the brand new agents getting into the business who are just starting
Yeah.
in the current situation. Like, it's not like we have to say, "Oh, we've
Mm,
got to change this and change that." They're just starting fresh now. It's like, "Okay, this is the way we do it." Like,
right.
I I mean, I love a good consultation. I love a
Mm,
buyer consultation. I love
right.
telling people what to expect. Here's how it's going to work, because that's how I am. Like,
Yes.
I have a clarifying personality, right? Like, I like to know um, what's going to be happening, when it's going to happen, how long. I mean, that's just my style. So,
I can vouch for this. I mean, I can absolutely 100% vouch for this personality trait from Realtor Avery.
sometimes I plan in my day to be spontaneous.
You plan
Mhm.
like, how do you do that?
Like,
Tell me more.
you just say, "You know what? This afternoon, I'm just going to see what happens."
Okay. All right.
And I
Well,
only get slightly stressed about that.
you intentionally don't plan anything. Well,
Yes.
when I'm working with an agent and we're going to work on time blocking, so that I I I say, well, the point of time blocking is not so every minute of your day is planned out. I mean, you need all this time. You need a whole lot of time where you don't know what the heck's going to happen. You're flexible. You're ready to pivot, and
Yes.
you can take that time. If nothing comes into your life and you have a free half hour and you want to work on that book, or you want to read it or write one, I don't know, whatever you want. You got that time, but yeah. No,
Yes.
very
That
good.
is, it's not good to be overscheduled. I do realize
No.
that. I think many of us, so, one of the things that I do like to do, and I will be working on it this afternoon, for many people, if you're familiar with the term a SWOT analysis,
Mhm.
SWOT, right?
Yes.
So,
Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Womp, womp,
yes.
womp. Strengths, weakness. So the yeah, I've done a number of SWOT analysis, especially being when you're on, like, as part of a volunteer, maybe with like a charity, a board or something, you kind of trying to figure out as a board what you go through this process. Um, strengths or weak, like, what do you it's hard, like, it's a challenge. Just doing a legitimate SWOT analysis on yourself is quite a challenge, I think. If
And
you're honest about yourself.
right, right. And I think that, you know, many, like you say, an organization can do it, a company can do it, an office can do it, an industry can do it. But to do it on yourself, like, that is something. It's like, okay, I need to sit and reflect, grab a cup of coffee and kind of talk about, okay, and try to look, you know, look at yourself, but don't be so hard on yourself, right? Like you want to
Mhm.
be objective. What are your strengths? And it's interesting. I think some people find it much easier to identify their strengths, and some people find it much easier to identify their weaknesses. But we all have both.
Yes. Yes. I agree. We do. We were talking, and I was talking about as a weakness, and I shared a story of a specific time when I failed to ask for the order, and I had Helen's Monday minutes going through my head: ask for the order, take the order, ask for the business, and I go, there's a time, and the client told me specifically when she was selling her house that nobody asked her for the order. And finally, somebody who none of us knew, somebody from blah blah called and asked for the order. And guess who got the business? The person who asked for it, right? She didn't owe us anything. And so maybe that's one of my weaknesses. Asking for the order. So tell me about one of my strengths.
You want me to tell you about a strength that you have?
Uh, sure.
It's funny because that is something that you should do, right? Like that 360 review. A lot of times companies will do that, especially for leadership, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
and it's interesting, we have one, and you and I were both at a previous company together, and I still have that sheet, and I have the sheet how I wrote it on
Mm-hmm.
myself, and I have the maybe 15 agents who filled it out about me, and it was like a ranking yourself 1 to 5 in all
Mm-hmm.
these different categories. And that is important to look at and say, what is your, and I think maybe it's just me, like what I see in you as a strength is sometimes a reflection of what I see in myself as a weakness. Right. Like, so I think sometimes we admire something in someone else that we don't have. Right. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I look at you and I say, you are so open to new ideas, new things, right? Like you're
Mm-hmm.
not set in your ways. You're not stuck in the past. And that's part of the, like, that shiny object that you talk
Mm-hmm.
about, but people who are aware of like new fresh ideas are open to new fresh ideas. And so I think that's a big strength of yours, is like, I have never heard you say, well, that's just the way we do it. Right? Like you
Yeah.
are always
No.
challenging the status quo. Like you are always open to new ideas. But again, what's a threat? One of the things that we talked about earlier was being double subscribed.
Mm.
Right? So it's like, hey, I just found this new strategy. I'm going to subscribe. Oh, wait,
Mm-hmm.
now next week here's another new strategy. I'm going to subscribe. And at a month goes by and you're like, wait a minute, I've paid for 4 services doing the same thing. What do I need? So
Right.
how do I pick, pick the best? Or
Yeah.
pick 2 out of 4. You don't have to
Do
pick
I? Right. I mean, I could think of one that does some things, and then another one does some things. They have a lot of overlap. However, it doesn't entirely overlap. This one does a little bit of here, and this one does a little bit of this over there. And it's like, well, do you want both to have the little bit of extra? I'm not quite sure what the answer is. But yeah, no, that's are you over subscribed? Are you double subscribed to anything? As a shiny object syndrome person, um, I'm pretty positive I'm double subscribed a little bit. Although I canceled a whole bunch last year. So
And that's part of this, like reflecting
mhm,
and going forward. Like, okay,
yeah,
and even it's an analysis of where did that bring a positive effect.
hmm,
I used these, for example, I used these two tools. One gave me 10 leads, one gave me 4 leads. Do you just say, well, then keep the 10 and get rid of the 4? No, because it still gave you 4 good leads. Like
right.
both of them could have been effective, right?
Hmm.
But now if you've got option 3 and 4, and option 3 and 4 gave you 0 leads, then those are the
Hmm.
2 to drop and
Sure.
keep 1 and 2.
Yeah. Yeah. There's some average. You need to, I mean, you really need to measure that over a long period of time. which I think is one of the challenges. I think agents, we try things and we don't try it long enough. You know,
Right.
I remember being, being a Hannah Khan and Jared James, he goes, hey guys, they all work. I don't care what you're talking about. Every single thing works eventually. Like
Right.
just, every single one.
And you
So,
have to learn it and utilize it, right? It's
mhm,
like a piece of gym equipment, right? If it's sitting in your basement, it's not working. But if you use it, it will work.
it will. Right. Absolutely. Okay.
Yes.
So moving into 2025, we're in 20, it's January 1st. What are you thinking about? How are you based on a future, based on your SWOT? I mean, what do you think?
Yeah,
Hmm.
I think the biggest opportunities in my office are new realtors,
Yeah.
new people getting in the business. They're like that to me gives me the biggest excitement. It gives me the biggest like let's go, let's learn,
Hmm.
let's grow this together and seeing people's lives transformed, right? Like
Hmm.
we see that every time someone buys or sells, their life is physically transformed, right? You're going from one location to another. Um, even frankly, in our office last month, we had an agent help a person buy the property they were renting. So
Hmm.
they didn't physically move, but you
Hmm.
know what? Their life physically changed because instead of picking up the phone and saying, "Hey, the shower's not working," it's like, "Ooh, I got to figure out how to fix the shower," right? Or
Hmm.
I got to find a plumber. Either one. Um, so that transformation in people's lives is a huge part of why we like real estate, right? And
Hmm.
then for you and I in our offices, like we can watch our agents' lives transform, right?
Hmm.
Like I see all the time, like maybe you said, I'm going to go to HannahCon, I want to grow my business. But you and I both took HannahCon as an opportunity to extend and have a personal vacation. Like, what other jobs can you do that, right? What other jobs, like, oh, you've got a work conference in, I don't know, Palm Springs, right? And you're going to extend a few days and go see those windmill mountain thing. That's pretty cool. So
Oh, I drove past that one time.
it's really cool. I did
That's a
the
lot of.
gondola up there one time. It
Oh,
was
really?
really fun.
I d Yeah, I flew into LA and had to drive from LA down to Palm Springs and for a trade show conference and then on the way back, but it was midnight, like it was like, so I didn't really see it at night, but but when I went back, it was like 9 in the morning and I saw these windmills and said, holy crap, that's a lot of windmills.
It's pretty cool. It's
Wow.
pretty cool. So, that's an amazing opportunity. And I like watching people, and even if their goal is, hey, we have a lot of dual career people, and they might
Mhm.
say, my goal is to make X amount of dollars because I want to do this with those dollars, right? Like I'm going to help families, I'm going to help people buy and sell homes. And when I do, I'm going to earn money and it's going to help my life. Like everybody wins.
Okay. I think what I hear you saying is you start out with some goal setting, right? To
Yes.
start out with some goal setting to help guide your activities for the rest of the year. Um, we do the same. We do some goal setting, but we also say, we're peeling it back a level where it's to say, yeah, well, if you want to have 5 successfully closed transactions or 10 or 500, whatever your goal is, um, how many appointments do you have to go on in order to expect that result? And if you have to go on that many appointments, well, then how many conversations do you have to have? How many, you know, like we go down to what's the initial work? And we just so we're setting goals more for the initial work. Cause I know if you do the initial work, you'll get, the next steps, they'll follow. So,
Yes.
yeah.
And I love that because it goes right back to what you said earlier about um, looking, reflecting back, and then moving forward. Like you made the point saying, I didn't ask for the order, I didn't get the business. So
Hmm.
I would imagine in your 2025 plan, it's going to be uh,
Hey,
every interaction is going to ask for the business. Not
hey,
you're not going to be in your face obnoxious, but hey,
right.
I'm here to help.
You just never, there's just no way to know. Like, and I'd say like, that's pretty much true. It's not unique just to real estate, right? I mean, that's how business works. The person who, I don't know, your dentist doesn't know exactly when you're going to have a cavity or when blah 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 is going to happen. Or I'm trying to like, there's a whole bunch of other industries out there where they don't really know when you're going to need them, but they have to keep reminding everybody that they're there.
Yeah. You know who's
You
good
know?
at that?
No,
Window
who's
companies. How many postcards do you get at home from
mm.
window companies?
Speaking of postcards, you bring up a good point because 2025 might be the year of the postcard. Because our mailboxes are not flooded with stuff anymore. I can't
No.
think of the last time I got a Val pack. Um, you know what I mean? Like, and it's after holiday, so we're not getting, the Lillian Vernon catalogs and personalization. Like that season's pretty much ended. So
Yeah.
this is a great time to get that out there. So
And you
yeah.
know, but maybe you set a goal like here, every listing gets 50 just listed postcards company pays for. Same thing when it sells. Maybe your plan is, you know what, I'm going to bump it up to 100. I'm going to
Okay.
get the 50 paid by the company and I'm going to buy
Yep.
50 more and I'm going to blanket neighborhoods that I want to really prospect and ask for business in.
Okay. Yeah, I met with somebody this morning, and we had a successful closing, and we talked about, okay, no, now what's the follow up? What do we do? And we talked about the Quantum Digital, the client follow up campaign from Quantum Digital, and for $20 you can get a postcard at their address every month, every 3 months for the next 3 years. Sign me
Yeah.
up. So
You know what else is on my to-do list for 2025 is more postograms. Now, so
postograms.
postogram, like I think that's been actually my first postogram card that I received was from you, Chuck, after the
Uh
HannahCon in Vegas. So
huh.
almost 3 years ago, I got my first postogram
Uh
card.
huh.
And so, but postogram, I'm sure you know, they email like
Hmm.
probably every 4 to 6 weeks because they will time it to something that's coming up and they'll say, hey, the deadline to get a
Hmm.
postogram by Mother's Day is today. The deadline, or is 2 days from now. The deadline, if you want it received on time for New Year's Day, is here. And so those emails come in. I see them. I'm like, yeah. And so, but this time I was like, you know what? I had someone in mind. I want to send a postogram, and I wanted it to get there by today, New Year's Day. So I said, hey, I know the picture I wanted to use. I'm all set. And I clicked on it and I went into my app and it's like, okay. And I had bought credits because one time, Chuck, you taught me buy your credits in bulk and you save some money.
Hmm.
And I think I probably bought like 40 credits. And when I went in to send my card, I had 40 credits remaining. So
Hey,
I used 2 of my credits and
perfect.
sent out my postogram. And it's like, okay, I am not going to have that money sitting in a bank. I'm going to spend. So my goal is, and you know what? I didn't say to myself, oh, I have to use all my postogram credits by January 31st. I'm like, you know what? I need to send one a month. One.
One.
That's reasonable. One
That's very
postogram month.
reasonable.
And
Okay.
I should write down, I can't send them all to you because that's the easiest thing is just, oh, send them to the people who send them to you. Like, nope, I got to do one postogram a month and that'll be my goal. And
Okay.
and I know that I've shared before, like I tried this stuff out like personally. That way I kind of get a better sense of it before and to tell agents. So like I had a nice trip, had a great holiday trip. One of my kids came home, was here for Christmas, and then the 2 of us drove to where my other kid lives in Burlington with their wife. And so I have some great photos from that trip. So I can easily send some postograms to my kids and be like, hey, thanks for making the memories. It was a great vacation.
Think about how awesome that would be if you had a postogram to your client, like to somebody somebody in your sphere, and you send them a postogram. They get a super cool postcard from you. And then a month later, they get some other postcard that's business, so like more real estate related. But you know what? They're gonna look at that postcard, the business one, differently because
Right.
right? Because it's gonna get some carryover, goodwill, good feeling from this other thing that you sent a month earlier or 6 months earlier. People remember that stuff.
Yes.
Um,
Well,
so
right.
I love it.
Yeah.
Postogram.
And it's a nice, are you writing that down, Chuck?
I am. I'm postogram. Because you can have so many things and you can't remember them all. You can't
No,
like
no.
and that's my postogram. It's a shiny squirrel just came back into my life.
See? And that's where, like, have technology working for you, right? Like, what I should do is a reoccurring appointment the 10th of every month. Send a
Yes,
postogram.
on
Like,
your calendar.
get
Yeah, and you
get
set it to recur.
my assistant has been
Right.
slacking. I need to get my assistant
Mhm.
working harder.
You know what? I set a when I change my furnace filter, I do a reminder for every 3 months for a new reminder to come up to change my furnace filter.
See,
Um,
that's awesome.
it's the only way to do it, especially in our house. We really want to keep the air quality in our house clean and everything.
Yes.
So it's really, really important. And if I didn't have that reminder go off, so my assistant's holding, she's holding up her end of the deal so far.
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah, no, that's very good. I'm excited about 2025. Like I said, it's kind of a big year, for me. Circle back to me, but um,
Hey.
I'm excited for the year, and I'm excited about just to see the growth and development of buyer agency. We really doubled down on that path last year. And I think it's a great move for real estate. I think it's a great thing for everybody. I think it's the right move.
Yes.
And I think it'll help everybody's business.
Yeah, I
So,
totally agree. I know I had a bunch of people. Yesterday was the deadline for our Association of Realtors had that free ABR course online. I know I had a
mhm.
few agents sign up for that, and the number of accredited buyer representative designations has been really going up. So
Okay.
I am happy for that as well. I'm excited, Chuck, to be appointed again to be an FPC, a federal political coordinator
Oh,
for New York District 23, Congressman Langworthy, and I'm going to DC in a few weeks for some more training on that. And when we talk about what do realtors do. One of the things that the National Association of Realtors does is really promote home ownership and property rights. And so
mhm.
I am very pleased to be a part of that and excited to make sure that as things come up federally that affect real estate, again, home ownership, even the ability during the budget conversation to get flood insurance, like that's a big deal as we look at the budget. If you wanted to close on a property, and if that property needed federal flood insurance and there was a government shutdown, you wouldn't have been able to close on your house. And so being able to remind our members of Congress, like in my congressional
Mm.
district, 18% of the properties require flood insurance. That's not nothing.
No, it's a lot. And there's areas out here. I mean, all across, what is it? The Tonawanda Creek goes, much of the areas in your area are affected by that creek. That
Yeah.
creek heads right through Genesee County. And there's areas in the black, I forget the name of the creek system, but and it goes all through Monroe County. We have flood areas all over the property for sure. It's
And
funny
it's increasing.
and you mentioned, if with a government shutdown, if something that you can't close. So that literally happened to me back. I mean, the government, I don't remember if it was 2016 or 2017, but we had a shutdown if it was October or November, and the USDA budget goes from, I think, November 1st till October 31st, and the government was shut down, and I had a buyer getting USDA, and yeah, we couldn't close. And
No,
then the government reopened, but then everything has to be appropriated. It took a couple weeks for all the appropriations to get so it really, so I appreciate you. Thanks for being on that committee, and um, I can't wait to hear more about that. That's exciting. I'll have to find out who is in that position up in Rochester. Maybe we'll invite him on to be a guest.
yes, I know one of them,
Okay,
but I
perfect.
don't know which member she does. But she's very nice, and
Yeah.
I see her at trainings.
Okay. She with Claudia. Maybe I know a rep up here. I think is Claudia Tenney. Um, So anyway, all right, very good. Well, that's exciting. I'm excited about 2025, but of course, I'm always excited. That's really not, I mean, that surprising.
Right,
So, but
right.
I think you're excited too, which you're pretty excited.
I am. I
Okay.
am. I think that, we look at, I like, social media. I have friends who don't go on social media because they say it's too negative, it's too this, it's
Mhm.
too that, it's too dividing. And my philosophy and what I tell them is you're following the wrong things. If you're
Mhm.
not getting enjoyment, then follow different things. So as I look back, I did write down a couple things. I would encourage people, and I don't know if you already do this, Chuck. Do you follow the National Park Service on Instagram?
No.
They are
National.
hysterical.
Okay.
National Park Service, they do all kinds of funny things,
Yeah.
posting information.
I,
They and it's very enjoyable. I follow lots of museums, art museums. I follow a couple of whale watching businesses because they will post
okay.
sightings from their boats. It's really really interesting. So
I
I
uh
encourage you to follow fun happy things
I
online, and it
I
changes your mood.
I agree. I follow Morty the Misfit. So, you haven't seen Morty the Misfit? Oh my gosh,
No.
you got to follow Morty the Misfit. I'm not going to tell you what it is. Any of our audience, go out there and follow Morty the Misfit. You
Okay.
will love it. It's right along the same lines. It's just a little slice of joy. Um, so I wrote that National Park Service.
Yeah.
Another thing I would advise people, I agree 100% when the person says, oh my gosh, it's so negative. You need to take more of an active role in the content that is delivered to you. You need to tell it, I don't want that. Like
Yes.
I, I was somehow, so all these real estate stuff started popping up on my feed, and it was not like local, it was something. And and a lot of it was negative, and I go, no, just get it out. Just
Yeah.
it wants you to tell it, yay, like thumbs up or thumbs down, right?
Right.
Because the more active you are, the more likely the more that is able to get it right, and the more it gets it right, the more likely it believes you are to engage more and and pay your attention, right? That's the thing we all have to
Yes.
pay. So be careful how you pay your attention.
Yeah.
But
I
yeah.
like I went to see The Lion King a
Okay.
week or so ago in Buffalo, and
Wow.
I like to follow the performers who are
Oh
in
yeah.
the touring shows and see how their careers go, and
Now
it's fascinating.
follow, or are we stalk or follow stalk? Is a blurry line, because I think
Follow.
you went to a concert and you're like, maybe someone from the thing is here. Like, are you stalking at that point?
I'm not stalking, but I will say I did make a comment about The Lion King, and one of the performers commented on my comment
Wow.
and thanked me for
Very
attending.
that you know
And that
what?
was the end of it, Chuck.
Okay.
I
Perfect.
didn't do anything else.
Great. You know what? I'm always amazed when I see live performers on stage. I'm just amazed at the level, like at their ability, and I'm always amazed by the performance. And I'm thinking to myself, I can't believe that I'm getting this for $20, $30, $50, whatever. And that, I have to go to the movie, and yeah, they're talented too, but it's almost $20 to go see a dang movie. And they only had to, they put like, I don't know, they worked on it for 8 weeks or something, and then it gets distributed. And where these guys are every night are,
Yes.
bang, they're doing that performance. It's amazing. I'm always just floored um, by that experience every
Yeah.
time.
The nice part too, Chuck, if you follow some of these performers, there's a performer who was in the like Ain't Too Proud to Beg. Really, really good show.
Okay.
And this performer has moved on and now has been in a few other shows. And I love like the camera there as they're doing a rehearsal. So they're in
Hmm.
their street clothes. They're not dressed as the character and they've got the microphone right there. And it is the talent in our world is just outstanding. MJ the musical, that another one, and there was in fact I saw it yesterday, not the show, on Instagram, two of the performers, young Michael and a older Michael, singing together one of the songs, and just amazing. So
Hmm.
again, those are the types of things. If you're use your mind smartly. Don't fill your mind with negativity, whether it's on TV, on podcasts, on Instagram, or just who you surround yourself with, right? Like, don't feed your mind junk food. Feed your mind healthy food, positive food.
Okay.
That's what I want to do for 2025. And
I
so for 2025, I hope we keep meeting on Wednesday mornings at 9:30 because I really enjoy it. And I enjoy anybody
Yeah.
who makes a comment, anybody who says, "Hey, thanks, I enjoyed that," or "This was a good conversation." Sometimes they're heavier, sometimes it's a meatier meal, and sometimes it's a lighter meal for the mind, but it's always enjoyable.
love it. All right, Lisa, thank you for final thought. I appreciate you. And I look forward to seeing you next week. All right. Cheers, everybody.